the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on this Tuesday morning. We're glad that you joined us wherever and whenever it is that you join us each and every day for the Auburn Blitz Podcast and making Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. It's Brett. It's Faith, as always, getting you started. Actually, you're here a little bit early, but we're starting late, so technically you're right on time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm on time. So
anyway, no Randy today, but he'll be here with me tomorrow. Again, we want to thank all of you out there for subscribing to our channel and continuing to spread the word about our podcast. And if you like what we do, go like it. And it really helps us out a lot. And we could not do our show without outstanding partners. And we always start with Sensory.
Sensory Green for air that's cool and clean. Call in Sensory Green. They are the carrier experts for the state of Alabama, proud supporter of Auburn athletics and a proud supporter of the Auburn Blitz podcast, with the AC needing to be on this entire summer because of how hot it's going to get. Carrier units are reliable, and Sensory Green will save you thousands of dollars with the installation of a carrier unit.
And Scout Program Management, a full service construction management firm that will take you from the pre-construction phase all the way to the finished product. I know we sound like a broken record every day, but it's the truth. You don't realize how important someone like Scout Program Management is until you're knee deep in a project and you don't know what the heck you're doing. They will hold people accountable. Don't try to be the expert. Let Scout Program Management do what they know how to do, and that's make sure your project's done correctly. Give them a call up in Birmingham, Alabama today. They will take care of you. And
Bunkers in downtown Auburn. If you are just sick of going to the golf course and not being able to do anything right, it feels like out on the golf course. Bunkers has 27 different sports on their golf simulator base. So you don't have to just play golf. You can play anything else, because if you're getting too frustrated like I do, just choose something else. They've got 50 parking spaces in the parking garage behind them. They've got great food and great happy hour deals. And I mean, what else is there not to love?
There's not much that you can't love over at Bunkers. That's for sure. And we're way overdue getting over there, by the way. So
yeah,
we need to get back over there. Looking forward to it already. All right. We've recruited out here the last couple of weeks, and since Auburn's kind of tailed off and they don't have any OVs coming in, you and I were actually at the complex yesterday. Saw some guys there, and really, I guess, volunteer trips. Some other guys coming in that we've talked about. We won't go into detail, but we saw them there maybe with their coaches and stuff in passing. But you were there for another edition of On the Front Row with Faith. Malcolm Simmons will be coming out in a week or so when you get that done. And but looking forward to that. Malcolm, that was great, I thought, by the way. He's just a great person. So willing to talk and be a part of whatever. And you add in his athletic ability, man. He's like the perfect player that you want on your team. And so we were there to talk to him, but saw some recruits. And again, I think to count before we go in, because obviously unbearable, the thought of us losing to Baylor, a little play on words, is unbearable. But we're gonna shift our focus today and talk about Baylor. And I didn't wear green on purpose. I just noticed that I'm wearing Baylor green for some reason, but I'm not a Baylor. But anyway, maybe it'll bring them some bad juju when I'm doing this. But the recruiting, there's a lot of panic, Faith, you and I are feeling from people like fans and people around, and just the vibe. And I think you and I have explained it till we're all blue in the face. Auburn's done all it can do. People love Auburn, the players love Auburn, but it's going to come down to what we're going to talk about today and what we've talked about bits and pieces almost every day, and that's Auburn winning football games.
I don't know how many times we have to keep saying that if Auburn gets these commitments in the summer or early in August, it's gonna be just as hard to keep them if they e as if they were not to, because the recruiting process doesn't stop once you commit, and I don't know if there's anything more that we can keep saying on that, but everybody panicking, thinking we're not gonna get people. It's not over until they sign in December. So, if we get them in July, we're gonna have to keep them throughout the whole season. If we don't get them in July, it's still not over. We're gonna try to get them all the way up until December, and it goes back to, like you just said, winning these games.
We talked to coaches last Thursday. We talked to coaches yesterday, and they know that. They just so everybody knows what we're talking about. They know that too. They understand it. They feel good about where they are with a lot of these kids, but nobody's committing right now because I think it's a wait and see process. I mean, again, if anybody needs reassurance, I mean, Faith and I both have talked to these coaches, and per coach, they say the same exact thing that, hey, they know that last year, if they would have won more games, it may have translated into some guys committing right now. But everybody knows this roster is built to win. They know this schedule's built to win. Now everybody wants to see it, right? And it's kind of like walking up on the car lot and you see the car and it looks real good. And it's like, man, that car is awesome. But you're not going to buy the car until you do what? Faith, you're going to test drive it. You got to.
I
Looks can
think
be deceiving.
yeah, and it's also just seeing how Auburn's able to come back from the last 3 seasons that they've had. They've I don't know if I've said this on here, but last year, their key word that I think every single guy said in one of the post-player interviews was how much adversity that they've had to face. In coming back from all of the changes and everything, it's gonna be really, really important to and I asked Malcolm yesterday to keep the mindset of flipping all of that and using it as either motivation or wanting to prove people, "Hey, we're able to get past this, and we've had these rough
Right.
seasons." We and Malcolm said yesterday, "We were only a few plays away from winning." But that doesn't matter because a loss is a loss, and especially on your record, nobody
Right.
cares if it was just 1 touchdown or whatever. It has to you have to be able to make that one play to keep yourself above your head above water.
I mean, I think you said it. I mean, nobody cares that you finish second in anything. Recruiting. Oh, we could have made a couple more plays and won the game. We only lost by 4. I mean, anybody talking about that? No. Justin said, "Hate to be Debbie Downer, but saw where Vodney announced his commitment date last night." People are saying Texas, Florida. You know, Vodney talked to you in your interview about his commitment date, and we knew that he had the Florida and Texas visit coming up after Auburn. You know, yeah, Justin, you're not going to flip everybody, but winning, I mean, you got to put yourself in the shoes of some of these guys that are committed somewhere and then they come to the Iron Bowl. I'm just fast forwarding, and Auburn's having a good year. And let's just say Auburn wins the Iron Bowl that night. How many? You don't think that has an impact on the players there and the prospects, no matter where they're committed? I mean, things like that tend to have an emotional pull. And you know, if Auburn's beating Alabama and they've got a great season, they're going to, I mean, that's going to sway a lot of things, because that probably will mean that Auburn's right there with a chance to go to the playoff. If not, they've already solidified a chance to go to the playoff.
Wait, Justin, where did you see that he announced his commitment date?
It may have been on Twitter. I don't know. I didn't see it. I hadn't seen it either. I wasn't
Well,
looking.
I said it on the
Yeah.
picture or the video, the reel that I posted,
Right.
but
Right.
I don't know if he saw it from that or on 3.
Yep. So again, we talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and basically, I'm not giving any hints away, but there is a psychological thing to talking to somebody like that when they're trying to make a decision, and normally the first one or two that comes out of your mouth is what's on top of top of mind. And Auburn is top of mind. So
He changed his whole he
yeah,
changed his commitment date.
he changed it because it was July the 4th. Because
Oh,
he told us July the 4th when you interviewed him, because
yeah, because he loves the 4th of July.
in the family and all that kind of stuff. But he's bumped it up now to
Oh,
June
oh,
21st.
oh, oh, okay.
So
I didn't even see
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, something could have changed. Again, let me reiterate, and I didn't want to go down the recruiting thing today again, but obviously we get pulled down this path. NIL is a big deal, guys. Everybody, it's a big deal. And if somebody feels like that guy's a priority, they're going to throw, like, money talks, and relationships are great. And they have a lot to do with people making decisions. But the one factor in all of this stuff that can sway people is how much money is somebody throwing at you versus what somebody else. And look, we told everybody this a few days ago. We had a conversation this past week. The Purdue's of the world, those teams like the Texas Techs of the world that maybe weren't funding football to a full extent are going to do that now.
Mm-hmm.
So this top-ranked recruit that you thought you were battling Florida and Texas and Ohio State and all for, they're going to jump in the mix now, and they're going to steal some guys from all of us, okay? Because we've been funding our football program to a full extent, but now some of these guys are coming in like with found money, and they're going, oh, we only had this money from the athletic department. Now we've got this amount of money. Now we can go get a top-ranked defensive lineman or a top edge rusher or a top receiver moving forward. So there's this thing is so fluid. That's why, again, the panic set in. Everybody feels like, oh, Auburn's trending down with a lot of these guys. Well, Auburn has kind of made its own bed. I hate to be that way. Auburn's made its own bed. But
Yeah,
it has great potential, Faith. It has great potential this year to correct all these L's. It does.
Yeah, that's the thing is that they've got to keep their head above water by just going and winning these games to prove that they have the potential and they have the ability. Because I mean, let's be real here. We're not going to go in this year and just go and win it all.
No,
but to be able to go and start by winning 8 games, that might show some of these kids that, hey, Auburn might actually be in the running in the next 4 or 5 years to make it further than that.
I did. That's what it all hinges on. And again, I know everybody turns this on every day and says, well, they're talking about the same thing, but this conversation circles and cycles back around to this because everybody's talking about why we're not getting a commitment from this guy, or they're moving commitment dates. And look, everybody needs to be prepped, I think, for all these commitment dates coming up in the last part of June and first part of July. I don't think Auburn's name's going to be called a lot. I don't. I'm just being honest with everybody. But again, Auburn's got more things to worry about right now than who commits in June or July. They need to be focused on getting the program turned around on the field, and the rest of this stuff's going to take care of itself. I mean, I don't know how much more blunt I can be about it. You know, I can get up and I can read every recruiting service, and I can read every article that's written, and I can go to the complex and I can talk to guys one-on-one, and it don't matter, man. Everybody's still sitting there waiting to see if Auburn and this coaching staff can get over the hump. And if they get over the hump, a lot of these guys that are going, well, I'm going to commit here, but I'm going to keep my eye on this team and watch and see what happens because I really, really like it down there. And it may be enough to convince me to turn and go the other way. That's what you're going to be dealing with. This thing's going to be a long marathon. We've said it every week. It's going to be a long marathon all the way to December. I tell you what you don't need is another crap season going into December, because you're right. You're not going to flip anybody at that point. So I don't want to say that all your eggs are in one basket, but this coaching staff and Auburn's situation prior to this coaching staff getting here, with the roster deterioration in the circus that Brian Harsin brought to town, has put Auburn in this situation where all our eggs are in one basket in this season. I mean, you hate to say that your back is against the wall, but it is. It's so imperative that you win. So imperative.
It is, and this is finally the year that Hugh Freeze is able to take back what Brian Harsin
Right.
threw away and threw down the drain. And so that's another reason of just why it's so important that this is a successful season, because everything that Brian Harsin did is just finally now.
You don't realize how much of a setback that was, and we're not using excuses, but he basically didn't recruit for an entire year. I mean, that you don't have any idea really until you start looking at it on paper, how devastating that was and what he did.
Do you think that he knows what he did now that he's gone, or do you think he thinks he
gave a crap.
Did any harm?
I think he came to Auburn and got a massive payday. I think we had such poor leadership at the time with Alan Green and some of the decisions that were made, that one of the most god-awful decisions in Auburn football history was to hire that guy. He was not proven. I mean, the guy really wasn't proven at all. He comes to a completely different area of the country he had no familiarity with at all, no connections, didn't try to build any connections, talked to 1,800 football coaches here in the state, high school. They didn't ever meet him. I mean, some of the biggest, most talent-rich high schools in this state never saw the guy. I mean, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? So, yeah, we had, from Stephen Lee to Alan Green to Brian Harsin, it was all a trickle-down effect to a disaster. And so now we're building back, and Hugh Freeze has done a great job of recruiting. These coaches have done a great job of recruiting. I got to win now. Now they're on the clock. All the excuses are done. You're 3 years removed from this, and now you got to win. And it starts with Baylor, and that's why I've got unbearable up there, because the thought of losing to Baylor is unbearable. I'm sorry. And getting us off on the wrong foot is, I mean, again, I can't even really – I don't even want to go down that path. But we're going to talk about the Baylor Bears here in just a second. But we're going to talk about some of our partners first, and Sure Shot.
Sure Shot, they've got all your firearm apparel and hunting needs. They sell and trade new and used firearms. They're right up Highway 280, so super close to the Lake Martin area, not far at all from Auburn. And Scott literally knows everything when it comes to all of that stuff, whether it's about handguns, what you need for certain seasons of hunting, but it's always hunting season. Call on them at 256-329-0080. And Oliver Ross, if you've got a party of 20 or a convention or wedding, anything up to 20,000 people, Oliver Ross is certified and licensed bartender. So they're going to be able to focus on the bartending services while you focus on the actual entertainment, enjoying the event, everything. You don't have to fool around and stress with Oliver Ross. You're going to be able to enjoy your time.
Talked to Mark yesterday. Business is doing really good. And
yeah,
glad to have Oliver Ross part of our program and Sure Shot. All right, so we've got a lot to talk about this morning. Shifting out, I said we weren't going to talk about recruiting. We talked about recruiting for like 15 minutes. So it's just the way it goes. It's just the world we live in. But let's look at this Baylor team. Last year finished 8-5. They finished 6-3 in the conference. They lost to LSU. That's where that fifth loss came from in the bowl game. But when you go back and look at this team, outside of the bowl, they won 6 in a row. They had a lot of momentum heading into the offseason. They returned their starting quarterback. When you look at their depth chart, Faith, you and I were looking at this. they returned Sawyer Robertson. He's a 3,000-yard passer from last year. Yeah, very familiar face, and Walker White backing him up. But let's start there. We start with quarterback. We've got, Jackson Arnold, that's a transfer from Texas, by the way, from that neck of the woods. He's going to be making trips back to his stomping grounds a couple of times, 3 times actually. It'll be Texas A&M, Baylor, and Oklahoma. He's got ties all over the place out there. So Jackson Arnold feels like he's right back at home right in the first part of the season. But Sawyer Robertson, and then you got 2 returning running backs in Bryson Washington and Dawson Pendergrass, and they're arguably maybe the best 2 running backs in the Big 12, Faith, in the same backfield. So when you look at the battery of the offense, Sawyer Robertson, able to throw the ball. I think he had 28 touchdowns. I've got the stats over here. I don't know why I'm trying to guess. He had 28 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, so I was right. He threw for 3,071 yards, and he was pretty damn accurate, 62% passing rate. So that's what Auburn's facing. Just starting there, the two running backs and the quarterback coming back always gives you a head start when you're looking at what you're returning.
We've gone through our depth chart how many different times and saying that we've got one of the most experienced offensive lines, and we need to be ready to take on a lot of these different teams like this. And the thing is, we go and you look at their offensive line too, and everybody from their offensive line is returning, and even their backups are returning there. So
they returned 15 starters, by the way.
Yeah, they're ready to keep going and be able to. They've played all together. That's another thing. They've played together for at least 2 years, or 1 year. I mean, this will be their second year playing together, and that's a huge advantage when it takes knowing how people move and how well they are connected mentally.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to some of these comments here in just a minute that are coming in. Some good comments. Just finishing up on the offensive side of the ball, I think your analysis is correct. Experienced offensive line, 2 veteran running backs, and a veteran quarterback. Offense is going to be a problem, and Auburn's going to have to get pass rush. They're going to have to defend the run too, obviously, but they're going to have to get pass rush because he's very, very, very talented back there. But I think Baylor's going to try to establish the run and run the football because that's their strength. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have 2 running backs, one over 1,000 yards last year and the other one over 600. So, I mean, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch back there. And I think maybe – I'm not saying they're going to want to control the keep the ball away from Auburn offensively, but that's what I would do if I were Baylor. Because if I were Baylor looking across at Auburn's offensive line and Auburn's potential, I think Auburn has a top 5. I don't know. I've seen different things. You and I both have seen different rankings on Auburn's receiving room, but I definitely think it's a top 5 receiving room in the country. I've seen it as high as 2. I think CBS Sports had it at 2 and Ohio State 1. If I'm Baylor, I'm trying to keep the ball away from that group. I'm terrified. If I look down, and Baylor had a hard time stopping some people last year, and it was that secondary. So the last thing they want is Auburn getting the ball back on 3 and outs and blowing up and down the field, throwing the football all over the place. Because I tell you this, I think Baylor needs to win a close game. I think Auburn can win a blowout game because I think Auburn is equipped to win a blowout game with the receivers they have. Auburn, what I'm saying is Auburn could jump out to a big lead. I don't know that Baylor can. I think Baylor's more going to be of a grinded out, going to take 4 quarters. I'm not saying Auburn's going to blow Baylor out at all. Please don't quote me on that. I'm just saying if they went in 2 different directions, I think Baylor would want to control the clock, keep the ball away, and pound on Auburn. because it's going to be hot. You got to look at the depth.
What happened last year with a lot of the games? We'd go and we'd be 2 touchdowns. We'd be plenty enough to where I think we almost felt comfortable that we were going to win. And every single time, it's always that fourth quarter, the points were reversed.
And I feel, look, we feel like we got better depth on defense, but we all know that if drives continue, what did we have a problem doing last year? Getting off the field on third down. Couldn't get off the field on third down, and these drives would just continue. Well, Auburn's got to do a better job of getting off the field on third down. Well, that's a nightmare for Baylor. Giving the ball up, but Auburn also can't go 3 and out and give the ball right back to Baylor. So they got to do something with it when they have it. But looking at this offense for Baylor, they've got another face that we're all familiar with around these parts in Kobe Prentice, the transfer from Alabama, who production dropped off significantly from the year before. 2023, he had a pretty good year coming from Calera. I watched him in high school. I called a couple of his games in high school. He beat Benjamin Russell in the second half by himself. I thought Benjamin Russell did a good job of shutting him down in the first half of that game his senior year. And in the second half, it was like, all right, here it is. I'm about to take over. And he did. So I thought Kobe Prentice was going to be one of those guys that took the next step at Alabama, was going to be a problem. And then he just didn't get targeted hardly at all last year. I only think he caught 11 passes. So he transfers to Baylor, and now he's got a quarterback that can sling it around. And they've got him projected as as the slot receiver starter. So we'll see how that kind of goes, but some familiarity there. When you look at the defensive side, I think the question for Baylor is their defensive line. They've got 2 seniors and a junior up there, but the production wasn't all that last year. Now, these guys, just like our guys, have improved, I'm sure, and they've gotten better. And I don't really know a lot about what Baylor went out and did. They went out and got, it looked like, a couple of guys out of the portal at the linebacker position and on the defensive line. So, when you look at Auburn's roster, Auburn did the same thing. Auburn went out and got some transfer portal guys on offense and some guys on defense to fill some holes. You feel like you got some quality guys. I think Auburn had one of the better transfer portal classes in the country. So, I don't know anything about that for Baylor, but they haven't had to plug a lot of people, have they?
No, I don't know how many times we can talk about our defense and how we feel confident in their abilities. But yeah, I think going and playing this game, having it be the first of the season, having it be on a Friday, there's going to be so much talk closer to it. It's June and we're already talking about it, but just the closer it gets, and then just more and more of not rivalry, but rivalry in the sense of Walker White's there and just the competitiveness, I guess between the two. Because I'm sure no one has bad blood with Walker here at Auburn.
It didn't seem like it at all.
No, but it's still that competitive mindset of, all right, he said that he wants Auburn to be the first L of the season, or Baylor to be Auburn's first L of the season. I'm sure Auburn's going to want to go in there and show him what he's missing out on.
I hope, that's the hope. Let's look back at Baylor's results from last year. This 8-5 team, who they beat, and how all that went. I think they opened up. Let's see. I love technology. Right when you have something queued up, it goes away. Bear with me, everybody. I apologize. It just kind of just went away on me.
You want it? What do you want?
You start. let's just start with. I think they started off with Tarleton State. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, I've got it pulled back up. So obviously a nothing opponent there. They won easily. Then they played Utah on the road, lost to them 23-12. Got a win over Air Force 31-3, and then lost a crazy one against Colorado. And
Yep.
Colorado kind of had that year last year. We saw some weird endings. Then BYU, who had a really good team last year, a close loss there. And then Iowa State, and then they went on a tear. They beat Texas Tech, scoring a lot of points, by the way. Again, not stopping a lot of people. I mean, look at the numbers. They were winning games, Faith, 59-35, 38-28, 37-34, 49-30. That defense didn't stop anybody.
I was going to say, there's as much as they've been scoring some points, they're letting a lot of points come up there too.
So again, going back to the defensive line, so they won their last 6. They beat Kansas 45-17, and then they lost in the Texas Bowl to LSU 44-31. But bottom line is, they were riding a pretty good wave of momentum. The losses that they had, when you go back, Iowa State beat them pretty good, 43-21. Lost a close one there to Baylor by less than a touch. I mean, to BYU, less than a touchdown. Oddly, didn't score very much against Utah. Only scored 12 points. That was their lowest point total of the year. But again, a very prolific offense. That's what you see with Dave Aranda type teams, and being in the Big 12, you got to score points. But Auburn's going to have plenty of opportunities. If Auburn can be balanced in this game, Faith, I think, man, it could be impressive offensively. You can't just line up and throw it 60 times. But the opportunities, like how will Baylor defend this wide receiver core? I don't think they have enough faith, no pun intended, in their defensive front to get the pressure. And what were you and I talking about at 7-on-7 the other day? You get exposed in that environment when you don't have a good defense. You don't have a defensive line in a 7-on-7. So it's really man on man. You're mixing up coverages and stuff, but you got to cover somebody. And when a quarterback's standing back there for 4 seconds surveying the field, that seems like an eternity when you're a defensive back. So you can mask some deficiencies in the secondary if you got a strong defensive front that's going to get pressure and disrupt things. But if you let any big-time Division I quarterback sit back there and survey the field, they're going to torch you. And I think that's what – if I'm Baylor right now, that's the biggest concern I have coming into this game, is we can't let Jackson Arnold sit back there and just pinpoint and pick out whatever receiver he wants to throw to. So how are they going to do that? How are they going to defend that?
I think having Jackson Arnold so far just being named as the starting quarterback, him being experienced and knowing, how long he can keep the ball in his hand, and just the experience and comfortability from all of that, that I think that sets us up for a good positive start. And I know, I'm huge on Deuce. I think he's great, and really impressed from what I've seen with him. But I mean, what you're talking about right now is just the experience of the wide receivers, but also the experience that Jackson Arnold has already at this level of, how mental some of this is, and knowing, when to make the pass and everything. I think that's just going to be a huge advantage for us against Baylor.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Tubbs doesn't believe in Marcus Davis. Hugh had a lot to do with it. I mean, he sold, DK Metcalf and Brown and all those guys. I mean, yeah, he's got a very good past with big time wide receivers that are still in the NFL. I do watch Marcus Davis's relationship with some of these guys. I do. I mean, I think you undersell him a little bit. I don't know nationally how he's respected. I mean, I don't have a chance to go around all over the country and ask what everybody thinks of Marcus Davis, but I think he's solid in building relationships with these guys, and they flock to him. Would you agree, Faith?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not saying he has all of I think it's a combination. I mean, I think you got coaches that, yeah, they build relationships with each other, and it's a tag team deal. You don't see one guy, but Marcus Davis is pretty good in my opinion. You can agree to disagree on that.
I'm high on him. So I
Um,
don't know.
Charles Kelly was mastermind behind the last 2 years. Now your ace is battling cancer, which leaves you Durkin, who's essentially on his way out. I don't know that. Why is DJ Durkin on the way out? I mean, he just re-signed a huge contract. I think he's the second highest paid assistant in the country. I mean, he's a head coach. There's no doubt he's been a head coach. Is that what he wants to be again? Yeah, I think so. But I mean, again, why I don't want to worry about. I think he's going to coach his ass off this year. I think he's got a good defense. I think he's helped build a good defense, and I think if he wants to be a head coach again, he'll want to put the best product on the field he possibly can. And I thought Auburn's defense really gave Auburn a chance to win every game. Maybe not the Iron Bowl. Maybe that was the worst performance we saw of an Auburn defense was in the Iron Bowl. But also it had to do with some very bad play calling on the offensive side that put our defense in bad situations. So I'm not willing to say they didn't play well enough to win that game, but really Jalen Milroe had 3 runs in that game. And, that's how they scored 3 of their touchdowns. So when I go back, I think DJ Durkin is a huge part of what Auburn's going to be this year. And I think he has built a defense, and I think he's continuing to build his defense. Yeah, Charles Kelly leaving and going to Jacksonville State was a huge blow. I mean, getting Charles Kelly, I thought Charles Kelly was a hell of a recruiter too. But Auburn's still been able to do some really good things and sign some really big-time defensive backs and still be in the game on some of these big-time, Braylon Womack being one of them. I think Auburn's got a really good chance to get Braylon Womack. But again, we come back to our full circle conversation, don't we, Faith?
Yeah, I didn't
get Braylon Womack
by winning some games. I didn't see that about Durkin either.
I mean, I just think that's and everybody's got a right their own opinion. I'm not saying Tubbs is right or not. I'm just saying that I mean, eventually he'll be on the way out. He'll either be the next in line to be the coach at Auburn, or he'll go take a head coach job somewhere else. I mean, but I'm not worried about what's going to happen in December right now. I'm worried about what's going on now, and I hope he has a chance to be head coach after we go 10-2. And Auburn's defense shut everybody down. And that's what you want. And so if that's the case, then I'll be a lot more comfortable about going out and trying to figure out who our next defense coordinator is after a 10-2 season rather than a 5-7 season. It's a whole different look. So
yeah.
All right, so let's look at what everybody's thinking about Baylor finishing in the Big 12. Way too early predictions of where they finish. I'll let you start with the Big 12. Faith, who they have projecting. This is like ESPN, combination of ESPN on 3, and the ESPN FBI thinking where everybody's going. Now there's some good teams in the Big 12, by the way. Don't sleep because Oklahoma and Texas have exited and all that. I mean, there's still some pretty good teams that have proven that they can compete. So, number 1.
Kansas State,
number 1. They're predicted to win the Big 12. I mean, I can see it. I mean, went 9-4 last year.
yeah.
But then number 2, I can definitely see as well.
Yeah, Arizona State. I mean, they had a successful team last year, but Scatabo was, I mean, everybody was talking about him. And I think that just brought so much back to Arizona State, like so much media.
Right. Kenny Dillingham, I mean, was at Auburn. And, we'll see. But, Sam Levitt back. I mean, we'll see how it all plays out. But, I mean, those are two really good teams. This was a little bit of a shocker.
Having Kansas at 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Because they went 5-7.
Yeah, man, they're Kansas. They generally suck in football. If we're talking basketball, it'll be a little bit different. 4.
BYU. We know I love BYU.
You love the Cougars.
I do.
They went 11-2.
Yeah, they went. I was gonna say went 11-2. Would you have them above Kansas?
I would have BYU above Kansas.
I would too.
Yeah,
I'm glad we agree on that.
I don't know what anybody was smoking on that, but somebody was. All right, drum roll, please. Number 5.
Baylor Bears.
And their win total is at 7.5, by the way, which is identical to whose? Auburn's. But you and I looked at a projection, and in the synopsis of Baylor, what did they say right here? One of the wins, and they actually have Baylor winning 9 games.
Yeah.
And one of them's Auburn.
With their loses or losses for Kansas State and TCU.
So Kansas State and TCU. We didn't even get to TCU and where they were predicted. That's on down, but just it's kind of all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah. They have at 6, right? Baylor's 5, TCU is 6. They were 9-4 last season, but
they got them beating SMU. They got their wins are, like you said, Auburn, SMU. The Fighting Malzahns. It used to be the Fighting Malzahns. He's the offensive coordinator at Florida State now, so he didn't got the heck out of Central Florida. But I mean, some pretty big wins. A win over Utah, a win over Houston, a win over us and Arizona State. I mean, like you said, the only 2 losses they have are Kansas State and TCU. It's kind of odd.
Yeah, over what would you say? Would you have TCU? Who would you say that they're losing to? Would you have it be TCU in Kansas State, or would you switch it?
You talking about Baylor? I have them losing to Arizona State. I have them losing to SMU. I got them losing to us, and I got them losing to Kansas State. I don't know about TCU. They got to go to TCU, and I think that's why they've got that as a loss. But I think they're just so in such a similar position as us that you can't open up with a team that's probably in more of a similar situation than us as far as what they need to do. I mean, the over-under set at the same amount, 7.5. So answer my question about who you'd rather lose to before going off. I definitely will, Justin. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to miss your comment.
I'd rather win them both.
Yeah, that's the easy answer. Let me go up and see what he said real quick.
Would you rather lose to Baylor and beat Oklahoma, or beat Baylor and lose to Oklahoma? I say lose to Baylor and beat Oklahoma 1-0 in the SEC and get some momentum going into Georgia.
I'm gonna make that a more complex answer. I think we need to beat Baylor to beat Oklahoma. Does that make sense to anybody? And I hear you, Justin, on the momentum, but I think the momentum starts right out of the gate. I think you can't lose this game to Baylor. I just think it sets up the tone. It's just such a bad tone. Such a bad tone. And again, one game doesn't make a season, but it sure can steer it in a direction. And I'm not saying if Auburn loses, they can't come back and win Oklahoma, Texas, and be sitting there riding a lot of momentum going into the Georgia game. I'm not saying that. But I just think you beat Baylor, then you got two teams coming into Jordan-Hare you feel really good about, and then you go on that road trip to Oklahoma and Texas A&M, and now you're carrying some true momentum in to that game. If you lose to Baylor and come home, win those two, you're 2-1, but everybody's like, you ain't beat anybody. Now you're going on the road to two very tough places to play. Probably the toughest stretch in your schedule when you look at Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Georgia, all three back to back with an off week in there. You're looking at a situation where you can lose all three. And now you're looking at a 2-4 record after your first 6 games. And if that's the case, it's not going to be pretty on here. I can promise you. And it won't just be Justin and Tubbs Tiger making some comments about Baylor in June. It's going to be a timeline of, it'll be like the ticker tape on the stock market. There'll be so many comments coming in over
You're
here.
always talking about the stock market.
Well, I mean, my mind's on the stock market a lot, so I need to check it. The market just opened, by the way. But anyway, that's kind of the summation of it. So that's a little bit of a preview of Baylor. We'll do some more of that. Obviously, we got plenty of time to talk about that, but we wanted to talk a little bit about Auburn's first opponent, and we'll start looking at some of these other teams as well on Auburn's schedule. But Auburn has a formidable opponent. I think both of these teams on a Friday night will be center stage for the country. I know it's high school football, and high school football is huge in Texas too now. Don't think it's just huge in Alabama. It's huge out there, but and I've said it so many times, Friday games suck. I literally think right before they announced the game got moved to Friday, I had just talked to somebody and said, I'm so glad we never play on Fridays. Who watches those games? And then, oh, by the way, we're going to move the Baylor game to Friday. But that's kind of a thing out there. It's Big 12, they play Friday games. That doesn't happen in the SEC. So,
of course, we're playing because we're
on the road.
Auburn.
And we're Auburn. So, but anyway, got a great – hey, look, glass half full. Great opportunity, center stage. Go win a big game, have a lot of momentum coming back home. Think positive.
Amen. Amen, Brett.
Buckle your seatbelt.
Buckle that seatbelt.
Buckle it up. Buckle it up. All right. A couple more of our partners here on the program as we close it out here on a Tuesday.
Old Number One Customs. They're coming to Brett's house again. Can't wait to have a little montage from Brett. If you've got a bathroom, kitchen, outdoor living space, anything, they're going to come in and out of your house in just 2 weeks to be able to renovate, make whatever it is beautiful. Don't DIY it in 2 years. Get it done in 2 weeks with Old Number One Customs. JFA Blue Plumbing, filtered, purified water out of every single faucet in your household. Sounds like a dream to me. So JFA Blue Plumbing will install a Home Atlas water filter duo so that you can have purified filtered water in every single faucet. And so it doesn't matter if it's in the shower or if it's out of the kitchen sink, anything. You can drink the water. Call on them at 844-JFA Blue.
Who doesn't like clean water? I mean,
I'm drinking so much of it. I need it. So
yep, I know. Trust me. We stop every 5 minutes. We're on the road.
I'm sorry.
All right. So Tubbs said, what's really going to sting when Durkin leaves and takes all those Maryland guys with him? They're only coming to AU for him. I mean, let's.
Where are we seeing that he's leaving? I'm confused.
Well, he's saying what Tubbs said earlier. He said, if we're not good, then he's out.
Oh.
And if we win, he'll be a head coach next year. So, I mean, look, I can't argue with that. if Auburn loses, and there'll probably be a complete total turnover of staff and everything. If he wins and has a good season, I definitely think he's a hot name for a head coaching job. And look, that's what you want. I mean, Nick Saban lost coordinators every year. And again, you want your coordinators, you want your coaches to be so good that other teams want them. So again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's get to that point. Let's hope we've won a lot of games, and we'll have to deal with that when we get there. So, all right, I'll be on with somebody at noon. I'm not sure yet. Randy's not here, so it will be Andy or Jim at noon with me. So make sure you tune us in at noon. If not, I'll Paul Feinbaum it for an hour. I guess I'll rely on some of you to call in and carry me through it. But I'll be on at noon, and again, looking forward to that. We appreciate it. Faith and I will be on the road again tomorrow on location at Stillwater's golf course.
Yes.
So we got a lot of food places and we got a lot of golf places. I like the theme.
You're not mad about it.
I love the theme. So we'll be at Stillwater's golf course tomorrow. So come check us out. And hey, great opportunity to come play some golf midweek. Wednesday's a good time to maybe cut out of work a little early and come on down to the golf course. So Faith and I will be there. Looking forward to being at Stillwater's golf course tomorrow for our show at noon. But again, appreciate all of you out there that subscribed, that have subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, please go do that and continue to spread the word. Jonathan, War Eagle to you. We appreciate it. Look forward to seeing that War Eagle every single day out there. But we, Faith and I both, hope everybody has
the best day ever.
And always, like Jonathan says, a big old
War Eagle.